Hello everyone, Sylvan Bard here, and welcome back to some more of Indiana Jones Month. It's time to continue with more adventures of Indiana Jones by taking a look at the next film in the franchise. One that many people seem to enjoy, and I also enjoy enough. It's the second and darker chapter of this trilogy, Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. In 1935 in Shanghai, Indiana Jones gives Chinese crime boss Lao Che the remains of Naharachi, the ancient emperor of the Ming dynasty, in exchange for a diamond. Yet Indy gets poisoned from the drink Lao Che offers, and he carries the antidote. But after shooting Indy's partner Wu Han, a brawl breaks out where Indy goes after the antidote and gets out of the nightclub with Senior Willie Scott. The two head to the airport with Chinese boy Short Round, or Shorty, and get on a plane, where the two pilots abandon the plane as it's in flight, and Indy, Willie, and Shorty jump out on a raft before the plane crashes. The three then arrive in India, where a shaman brings them to a village, and we're told of a stone that protects their village, and of an evil from Bangkok Palace that took the stone and their children. Finding out the stones represent fortune and glory, Indy, with Willie and Shorty, head off to the palace, where Prime Minister Chatalao greets them, and while dining, Indy talks of an ancient cult within the palace, where Thuggees worship Kali Ma through human sacrifice. Though while Lao and the young Maharaja deny his existence, Indy gets attacked by a Thuggee, and soon discovers what was said turned out to be true, when he, Willie, and Shorty venture into the palace walls. When it comes to Indiana Jones sequels, many people prefer this one over the others, despite that critics disliked it for its darker material and female lead. And on that level, I have to agree. Granted, there are good stuff in it, but I'll get to that later on. First off, this is actually a prequel, not a sequel, as it takes place 1 year before the first film. And even then, the whole film goes in a different direction from its predecessor. There's no scene of Indy back at the school, there's no returning characters outside of Indy, and for it being a prequel, there's no mention of the events that happen in this film within the next film. So when Indy gets Willie in the end, she's never mentioned in the first when Indy's with Marion. So how can you establish these moments in the following film without bringing them up in the last one? Either way, it seems pointless to have it be a prequel. The opening credits is completely different from the rest of the film, as it's a big song and dance number with Willie singing the Chinese, or Mandarin version of Anything Goes. Sure, it teases you and is unexpected, but it's such a disconnect to the following that something like this never happened again. And seeing that this is the darker chapter of the series, and being an Indiana Jones movie, how can anyone relate this scene with the rest of the movie? This to this. This to this. This to this. You might as well make the whole thing a musical with that added. Yes, I know there are some bits of comedy thrown in, but they're at times distracting and tend to interrupt the tone the film's going for. But easily the least favorite part of this movie is Willie Scott herself. I give Short Round a pass as he's just a kid and isn't as annoying. Like, I wouldn't mind him being Indy's sidekick. Yet Willie seems more annoying and not really kind of a fighter or defender. She always has something to complain about, is sometimes whiny, pretty distracting, and just about screams in almost every scene. Certainly the biggest bit to her annoyance is when the three leads camp out at night. All Indy and Shorty do is play cards and ignore her, yet she constantly screams at every animal she comes across, even to deliberately screaming at this lizard by running up to it. And then the elephant starts hitting its trunk on her head, distracting from Indy explaining a piece of tapestry. I have no idea why Indy ends up getting her in the end, when she contributed nothing outside of being the annoying comic relief. Yet at the same time, I wouldn't think Spielberg ended up marrying the actress years later after this. So yeah, those are all the stuff I dislike, because all the other stuff are kind of enjoyable. The music from John Williams again is amazing, and even the new cues are interesting, like the trek through the jungles of India, and the chanting and drum beats in the temple. They're all quite neat and kind of catchy. The temple itself looks well done, looking huge with shades of red and orange, as well as the rooms leading to the temple, like a hallway filled with bugs, and a room with spikes as the ceiling slowly comes down. That's pretty interesting. Though Indy saying "we are going to die" seems ridiculous by the way it's shot, but not as ridiculous as the leads falling from the plane in a raft and falling off a cliff in the same raft and land gently on rapids. But it sort of gave me a chuckle at how ridiculous it is, that I just let it be and roll with it. I do like some of the comedy that happens in this, like the palace dinner scene where the food is of stuff like snake surprise, which is of eels inside a big snake, beetles, a bowl of ice soup, and chilled monkey brains. It's a bit of a humorously dark scene despite it intercut with Indy's discussion of the Kali cult. There's another Star Wars reference where the club at Shanghai is called Club Obi-Wan, but the most fun I had with scene, and is the second most parodied Indiana Jones scene, is the minecart chase. It felt like a roller coaster, going up and down, making turns, making big jumps, steering against tight turns, and being a good mix of live action shots and visual effect shots. But that does beg the question, if Disney World can release an Indiana Jones stunt show based on 3 scenes from Raiders of the Lost Ark, why couldn't they release an indoor roller coaster based on this scene? It would have been fun. As for the actors playing their characters, they did a fine enough job. Kate Capshaw plays Willie Scott, Ki-Hu Kwan, or Jonathan Ki Kwan, plays Short Round, Amlash Puri plays Mola Ram, Roshan Seth, or Russian Seth, plays Chatra Lau, Philip Stone plays Captain Blumbert, Roy Chow plays Lao Chi, David Yip plays Wu Han, Rick Yun plays Cho Kan, D.R. Nayakara plays Shaman, Raj Singh plays Little Maharaja, and Dan Aykroyd plays Earl Weber. As a whole, this movie is enjoyable, for the most part. The characters, though not all, are good enough, the story is alright, and the effects are quite neat. It does have plenty of good action, some fine amounts of humor, wondrous music, and a tone that might feel unfitting but almost works. Yet despite there being plenty of good stuff to enjoy in this, it's kind of my least favorite of the franchise, with the annoying love interest, a different tone from the first film, and being unbalanced in some areas. But while it may be underwhelming than the previous film, I don't hate it as much as I thought. And overall, it's a fine flick, but it's not something I think of when mentioning Indiana Jones, as it's a very different experience from the rest of the series. So today, this movie began a rating of 2.5+ stars. So thank you for joining me. Like, comment, subscribe, follow me on Facebook or Twitter, support me on Patreon, and until next time for more of Indiana Jones Month.